Flosstube, it's Amy, also known as Aussie Stitcher in Texas, here with Flosstube number 3. Thank you everybody who has liked and subscribed to my last videos and keeps coming back. I do really appreciate it. And for any new viewers, welcome. This is my little cross stitch channel where I talk about all things cross stitch, really. I do a little bit of diamond painting as well. I did finish a diamond painting, and if I can figure out editing, I will add that in, a photo of that for you. But today it's really all about cross stitch and my plans and what I've done. Sorry it's taken me a little bit to come back. I had a work event in Vegas that I had to go to for a week and I got sick from that, surprise, surprise. It wasn't the big thing that we all think it is, it was something else, but it kind of knocked me down for a little while, and then I had a lingering cough that just would not go away until pretty much today. But let's just jump right into it, okay? So first off, what have I worked on this past month, really? I did have a week off for work, and then being sick, I wasn't really fully into it. Just trying to relax and recover. But I did get a lot of stitching done. I only stitched on 4 projects, but I stitched a lot on those 4 projects. So first up is my Heaven and Earth Designs Faces of Faery 201, which I believe is modeled after the Black Swan from Swan Lake by Jasmine Becket Griffith. So this is what it will look like when it's finished. And I got about 1,200 stitches done on this. I'm now at 49%. So here's where we are up to. This is on a 32 count, either Magic Guide or Easy Grid. I can't remember which one it is, but from the last time you saw it, I was kind of up here and I have come down. This is all the way to the bottom. So I now have the width completely done. So that's all the way to the end there, and then all the way down. So I now have kind of a better idea of what it is going to look like size-wise when it's finished. So let me just fold that for easier holding. So I'm really enjoying this. You know, some places there's some nice little bits of block, or at least, you know, every other stitch kind of thing. And then there's other parts that are just full confetti. Like her skin is actually a mix of about 3 or 4 colors. So you think it would just be nice and easy, block, 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 but it is not. And then every now and then there's just like a random 1 stitch color that matches nothing around it. So what I've been doing is, if that happens, I just don't stitch that one random color. I'll just throw in whatever is on my thread in those stitches surrounding it. So that is that one. Next up, I started, this was a new start. So I gave myself a new start for the month because I made it was on my WIPGO, sorry. So it was on my WIPGO, so I put that in, that was my new start. It is Autumn Lane Stitchery's Wicked Witchcraft. So that's what she looks like when she's done. This is on a 32 count Naiad Jobelin from Under the Sea Fabrics. It is the called for fabric. I chose that, and I'm using all the called for flosses. So I've actually gotten pretty far on this. So I've got in about, how many stitches? 4,745 stitches I've done on this one. And it's on my Q-Snap, and it was my WIPGO call for this month, which was 1,500 stitches or 7 days. And I actually got those 1,500 in this morning. I didn't do 1,500 in one day, but I finished up what I needed to get to my first WIPGO. So that's why it's still on my Q-Snap, but this one is done and will go away for the next little while. If you guys haven't used Autumn Lane before, you can get their patterns into Pattern Keeper. It's not fully compatible with Pattern Keeper. So while you can upload it, you do need to like manipulate it to get the grids to line up. And then it won't search for the symbols and do that kind of thing, but you can at least have it in there. So that way you've got it all on just the one page versus having, you know, they break it down for you. So it's, you know, a lot bigger, but that means it's over 4 pages. And I find for myself, I tend to make a lot more mistakes on the paper when I'm doing when it gets to the point where, you know, you're in the line of when it goes from page 1 to page 2 or whatever. So I like having the option to put it into Pattern Keeper, even if it's not perfect. It's better for me than being on the paper chart. So I'm really enjoying it. And then that way as well, you can at least count your stitches and see how far along you are. It won't tell you, because you manually upload it, it won't tell you how many stitches are in the chart, because it looks at every square as a stitch that is to be stitched. So that's why you can't tell what your percentage is or anything like that, but you can at least count along your stitches. So that is Wicked Witchcraft by Autumn Lane Stitchery. So I also worked on the, what did I work on next? So my Ursula is what I worked on, which is a Villain Crest by Atomic Tiki Pins. If anybody wants to know, I keep all my projects in these little mesh bags that I picked up from Amazon. Absolutely love these. They are perfect, the right size. I can fit everything in there I need to. And I think they were only about $25 for like 25 of them or 24 of them, something like that. Very good price. So here is what the Villain Crest will look like when she is done. I have 4 of the Villain Crests. So this is the first one I've got. I've also got Gaston, HAED, and Maleficent. So here is where we are. I've got them on my Adam Heart. I've got the floss on my Adam Heart cross stitch floss drops, which I purchased a couple months, well, last month, I think. So this is the Galaxy. Midnight Galaxy. Beautiful. Love them. Get those out of the way. This one is on a 32 count black even weave of some kind. Could be a Drobolin, could be a Lugana. I'm not entirely sure. It is huge, as you can see. So let me fold this up into some semblance of ease for you to see. Okay. So here's where we're up to. For her, I am at, so I put in the 1,500 stitches that was called for in WIPGO last month, and I'm at 79%, sorry, no, 70%. So coming along really nicely. Just doing all the cross stitching at the moment. There is back stitching and French knots, which I am not looking forward to because I've done one of those in my lifetime and hated every moment of it. So that's where she's at. Now, like I said, I have 4 of these, so I need everybody's opinion. Originally I was gonna stitch it on them all kind of together on this massive, ridiculous piece of fabric. It's huge. But it's a pain in the Q-snap to have all that extra fabric, as you can imagine. I'm really worried that when it does come time to adding the second the second crest over here, whichever one I choose, if I count wrong and then what's on, because essentially what's on this side will repeat over here, flotsam and jetsam. And then whichever one I choose, they have a similar look where they have they're all about the same shape and they have things coming out the side. So if I count wrong and then, you know, a flotsam butts up against, you know, HAED's potion drink and they're too close, then I can't cut and frame or put them in one frame. And then that's the other thing. Do I want to put them in one frame? Do I want to put them all in separate frames? Because they are small enough size that I could just pick up a frame from, you know, Michael's or Joann's and put them in. So I was thinking, do I cut it now or at least after I finished Ursula so I can cut her properly, and then just cut them down as I go, as I finish one? Do I cut it all up now into just 4 kind of relatively evenly sized pieces so that way I can just do a little middle start? It's a much smaller piece of fabric, so it makes it easier in the Q-snap and all that kind of thing. So let me know what you guys think I should do. Should I just persevere and keep it on the one piece of fabric? Should I cut Ursula out once she's done? Or should I cut it all up now and work from a smaller piece? So I will appreciate any advice given there. I'll just put this one out of the way. And then finally this month I worked on another new start. I had last month picked up, in July, I had picked up a bunch of the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery charts because they really started to grow on me. At first, I didn't, you know, when it's, you don't not like something, but you're not in love with something. And I was like, you know, these things take time to stitch. They cost money to stitch. Obviously you're buying the pattern and everything like that. So, you know, I was just like, you know, they're cute, they're great, but they weren't really striking my fancy at that point. Well, the more I kind of kept coming back to them, the more I realized, you know what, I really like these. They're kind of cutesy. They work for seasonal things. So that's why I picked up a couple. And the one I started to work on, timing wise, is Midnight Way. And I am flying through this thing. It is so great. It's lots of block color, lots of cute colors. You watch it come to life, and you know, the amount of, one thing I really like that they do is when you are looking around, so when you've got eyes on something, so, you know, you've got the eyes on the ghost, you've got the eyes on the witch lady, they backstitch around the eye, which really makes a difference. You know, you don't realize until you actually see it done. So I really like it. And this is on, I'm not using the called for fabric. I just pulled out something that I had from Stash, I should say, which is an under the sea fabric, the fabric of the month from a couple months ago, Luna, and I got the Jovelin 32 count. So it's a nice big piece of fabric, and this is what I'm up to. Like I said, I flew through this, 4,700 stitches, so I'm actually 59% done with this. So that's what I have done so far. I did a top start over here and then worked my way down. This is another one. These are, I'd say 90% Pattern Keeper compatible. Pattern Keeper obviously doesn't do backstitch at the moment. Hopefully one day they'll figure that out, but for now that's okay. Most of it comes in. And for this, and I don't know if this was just me or if this is, you know, the way it works in general, when you import the chart to Pattern Keeper, it doesn't recognize the symbols. So it doesn't like connect the color to the symbol. It just, because I only uploaded the 1-page chart of just the full page of the pattern. So you just have to go through and, you know, look at the pattern and see, okay, you know, this little funny arrow is this number or whatever it may be. But what I thought was funny for some reason, for some really strange reason, Pattern Keeper, one of the symbols, for whatever, I don't know why, it read them differently. So I've got one stitch, it's the color white with a certain symbol, and one stitch is a different font. So it counted those like twice, which is really odd, but you know, it didn't cause any harm. But this is, I'm loving this. I'm using all the called for colors. And I don't know if you can really see, but some of the black is étoile. So they give you the option of using étoile or like a black petite treasure braid. I had the étoile in my stash from something else, so I have used that and I am loving it. Like I said, it is flying because it's so much block colors. So I'm hoping to have this finished September, October, so I can put it out for Halloween. And I will attempt to do like Vonna's flat fold if I can. I'm not very good at that kind of thing, but I will give it my best. And you know, it's quite a small piece, so I'm still going to have a lot of, because this is a fat quarter, so I'll still have a lot left to do something else, you know, put it back into the stash, which is great. So that is all the stuff I worked on in the month of August. Not a lot of projects, but you know, I did manage to get a lot of stitching done, even being out for a full week and then getting a little bit sick, which I'm all better now, thank goodness. I'm really, you know, coughing is a pain in the rear. So moving on to plans, what are my plans for September? So I am participating in Autumn Lane Stitchery's Dark Queen of the Earth. I have got Dark Queen of the Sea. I have I love her, don't get me wrong. I think I'm UFOing her. Part of the reason is it was back when so I started it when I was still relatively new to stitching. So I used Ada. Every time I pull that thing out to stitch on, I hate stitching on it because I hate stitching on Ada now. Nothing wrong, like the fabric is nice and soft. It's a great pattern. I really like it, but the stitching on Ada, I hate it. I can't stand it. So I'm probably 70% of the way through. So she may be something that, you know, every now and then I pull out, I put a couple hundred stitches in, and then it might just take me another 2 years to get her finished. The other thing is that I'm at the point in the pattern where she's just looking like a worm. The tentacles haven't started coming together yet. So she just looks like a worm to me right now. And mentally I'm like, I don't want to stitch a worm. So I just need to power through and get some more of those tentacles in. So it has the tentacle look and she stops looking like a worm. So I will work on that. But I'm starting on the Dark Queen of the Earth, which started on the 1st. September 1st is when it started. My fabric came yesterday, so only 1 day late. Thank you so much, Leslie from Under the Sea Fabrics. If anybody's in that Facebook group and kind of seen how many things she's had to pack, I got the, because from her you can buy the fabric and the bead pack. You can also get the specialty threads as well that are in there. So I got the fabric, the bead pack, and the specialty threads, just, you know, a nice little one-stop shop. And she had called, you know, people who live in like the San Antonio area were going over to help pack all these bead packs. And I think she had even said their postman had told them that, you know, he's never picked up this much stuff from one place before, because there's just been what I feel like are thousands of people ordering this, which is fantastic. You know, you're supporting Aaron and Cassandra and their small business, and you're supporting Leslie and her small business. So I think that's really good. But I got for the fabric side, you have two options. You've got a green fabric and a more neutral tan type fabric, or at least that's what it looks like to me. The green, ironically, is kind of like my shirt, but sorry for the crinkles. I'll try to do this as fast as possible. I picked the 32 count linen in the color Nightshade. The other color, the tan color, is called Gilded Oak, I believe. And I went with the linen, which is beautiful. It's got, for me, like, I love modeling, do not get me wrong. But Aaron and Cassandra do such a great job with their pattern that you don't want a fabric that's too much modeling, because things could get lost or it might take away from the pattern itself. But, you know, they all work so well together, Aaron and Cassandra and Leslie, to find the perfect mix to make everything great. So I went with the linen. I don't love linen, just because sometimes you can get the big slubs, is that what they're called? But this looks really good, so I'm really happy with that. And I went with the linen because, you know, as colors dye so differently, Leslie shot, you know, if you go on there, you can actually see, what does this look like on Ada? What does this look like on linen, on Jobelin and Lugana? And normally I go for a Jobelin or a Lugana, but they were just too faded for me, just because of the way they absorb dye. And the linen looked a little bit richer, so that's what I wanted. So that's why I went with the linen. So I will be starting that today and hopefully knock out part one this long weekend that we have here. Happy Labor Day for those here in the US. It is still hot as Hades here in Texas. We're still in the 90s, but at least our evenings are getting down into the, you know, the low 70s, which is a blessing. So here are also, so the embellishment pack. So we've got 2 petite treasure braids and then a silk lame as well. And we get to use the silk lame in part 1, which is fun. And then some beads as well, but I won't bring those out because they'll make a lot of noise. So my other plans for this month is WIPGO. So like I said, one of my WIPGO calls was my Wicked Witchcraft to do 1,500 stitches, and I've done that, knocked that out in the last couple days, which I could do so quickly because it's all, you know, that thing has 4 or 5 colors, most of which is 939 and 501, I believe. So I just thread up like 3 needles with the color I need and just power my way through, you know, TV on in the background, although I did slowed down yesterday as I was catching up on not Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, episode 2. Loving that show. Let's hope that stays around for many years. But so my WIPGO calls were Wicked Witchcraft, which is done, and then actually Ursula as well, my Villain Crest. Also for 1,500 stitches or 7 days, so I will do that. And then that should get me pretty close to a finish on her, I think. So depending on how close I am, I may power through to finish or not. We'll see. I'll do my Dark Queen of the Forest or the Earth. I apologize if I am saying that wrong. Does it say it on the little stickers that Leslie did? No. So I will do that. And then I also bought another pattern this week. It is by Country Magic Stitch. If I can figure out how to insert a picture, I will. She does a lot, she or he, I actually don't know who it is, but they, let's call them a they, do a lot of, they put together a lot of designs that kind of look like the old-fashioned travel posters. And I picked, I actually bought 2. So I bought Welcome to Lothlorien, so they're both Lord of the Rings ones. Welcome to Lothlorien and the Mines of Moria, or the Gates of Moria. So I may start on that. It is a full coverage, but they're not very big. I've actually got a piece of, I think 28 count Monaco that, I just picked up at Michael's, that it will more than fit on that. So that's perfect. I don't need to go out and buy another piece of fabric for that. And because it's full coverage, for me, there's no point putting that on a fancy hand-dyed fabric because you're not going to see it. So I'm hoping to start that. That is, even though it's full coverage, and I already have a full coverage, it's only like 15 or 16 colors. So it actually shouldn't be too bad to just kind of, sometimes it's nice to have semi-mindless stitching where you're not having to change your threads a lot. So I'm hoping to work on that and get a start on that because I did have two bingos on my WIPGO because I've been so good at staying up to date with that. So one of the new starts I had chosen for that was the Frosted Pumpkin. Even though Wicked Witchcraft was a new start, she was on my WIPGO board already, so that doesn't count as a new start in my mind. So I still have one empty where I can do a new start and reward myself. So that is, I think I'm going to choose the Lothlorien one and get started with that. And I think that's all. I gave you my little life update at the beginning. I was in Vegas for a work event. Great event, 6,000 of my closest friends. But it was good, even getting sick. Luckily, I got sick actually a couple days after I came back. It kind of just started with a cough, and that's really all I had. I didn't feel anything else, didn't get a headache, wasn't overly tired or anything like that. Took multiple tests and they were all coming up negative. So, it could have just been, having 2-3 years of not really being around that many people. I work from home. We go into the office only a couple times a week. So it could have just been the exposure or the excitement of seeing so many people in one spot and just being run off my feet. And then for those of you I'm in Fort Worth. So when I had come back, I went from Vegas, super dry, desert heat, to here. And I think the next day is when we had those massive storms and the flash flooding and, I live in an apartment up on the 3rd floor, thankfully. So nothing happened to me. I was fine. But I looked outside at one point and like the wheels of the cars that were parked on the street, you couldn't see that bottom half up to the hubcap. It was kind of starting to get flooded. So it was a bit scary. And the next day, even though it wasn't raining anymore, it was still super humid, but it being Texas in the summer, it's been months since I've been able to open my windows because it's just so hot. It was a little bit cooler. I think it was still like in the mid 80s at this point, but because it was a little bit cooler and there was a breeze, I opened up all my windows because I was like, okay, I just want some fresh air, even if it's just for a few hours. Well, as I'm walking around, I'm like, it feels sticky in here. And then I'd walked into my bedroom and my bedroom felt damp. And I had like all my bedroom windows open. So I'm like, oh, that's not good. So I went and I closed everything back up, turned the air conditioning on, and it like dried everything out again, thank goodness. But after that, like the next day, that's when my cough started. And my cough really was coming back. So I don't know if it was from the super dry to the super moisture. I don't know. I don't know what it was. It wasn't thankfully, from the pandemic that we're having. And like I said, it's finally over. I haven't been coughing today, which is very thankful. But that is me. Thank you everybody for joining me and listening to me ramble on for the past 25 minutes. I know these aren't the longest videos in the world, but maybe as I get more projects going, I will, they will start to get a little bit longer. But again, thanks everybody. Please remember to like the video and subscribe if you aren't subscribed already. I really will appreciate it. And let me know your opinion on Ursula and the massive piece of fabric and what I should do. Should I cut it up now or, you know, whatever. I'll appreciate any advice you have to give me. So thanks everybody. Have a good day. Bye.